You open your eyes for the very first time, and the world is a blur of torchlight and incense. Rome, 54 CE. You're screaming, and somewhere above you, a woman is crying. Your mother. She just survived 12 hours of labor in a villa on the Palatine Hill, surrounded by slaves and midwives and the thick smell of blood and rosemary. Your father pushes through the doorway. He's a senator, and he weighs children like investments. The midwife whispers something about your perfect limbs, your unblemished skin. Your father nods once. She'll do. For 7 years, you lived the life of a patrician daughter. Silk robes, honeyed figs, a nurse who sings you to sleep. You play with wooden dolls in the garden, chase your brother through the atrium, learn to wave and recite poetry for your father's dinner guests. It's a golden childhood, until this man in white arrives. He's Pontifex Maximus, Rome's highest priest. He walks through your father's gate without a knock and with no permission. He speaks 3 words to your father, and your father's face goes pale. Well, apparently. Your mother starts crying. Your doll falls from your hands. The priest points at you. Te amata capio. I take you, beloved. Not a name, a leash. Your real name dies in this garden, along with your everything. For the next 30 years, you belong to Rome. Welcome to your life as a Vestal Virgin, kid. Your selection wasn't random. For months, priests examined girls from Rome's finest families like livestock at auction. Both parents alive? Check. No physical defects? Check. Virgin? Check. Patrician bloodline? Check. You passed every test without knowing you were the merchandise. Your mother clutches you one last time, her tears hot on your neck. Be brave, she whispers. Your father won't meet your eyes. He's already calculating the political benefits. You'll never live under his roof again. At the temple, they cut your hair. Long black locks fall to the marble floor. They hang your hair on the sacred lotus tree. An offering, they call it. A severance. You understand. The girl who grew that hair no longer exists. They lead you to the Atrium Vestae, your new home. 50 rooms, 3 stories, heated floors. A mansion by any standard. A prison with very nice furniture. That night, you meet the eldest Vestal. Aurelia, 42, ancient by Roman standards, with eyes that have seen emperors rise and fall. The fire doesn't care how scared you are, she says. It burns or it doesn't. That's all that matters. What fire she's talking about? You don't understand. You just cry yourself to sleep on silk sheets, surrounded by luxury, completely alone. The sacred fire of Vesta burns on a hearth at the temple's heart. It has burned for 700 years. If it goes out, Romans believe the gods have turned away, that Rome's luck has crashed. The fire is Rome's soul, and you its keeper. At 8, you learn to tend the flame. Add wood too fast, it smothers. Too slow, it starves. Mistakes are not tolerated. A novice 2 generations before you let the fire dim during a thunderstorm. She was stripped naked, taken to a dark room, and beaten with rods until she couldn't walk. The fire was relit. She never fully recovered. One night, you doze off during your watch. You wake to smoke. Thick, choking, wrong. The flame has shrunk to embers. Your hands shake as you feed it kindling, blowing gently, desperately. Priests rush in. You hear footsteps, voices, the rustle of rods being fetched. The fire catches, barely. They leave without a word. You don't sleep for 3 days after that. The fire doesn't forgive. You remember and now understand Aurelia's words. By 12, you master the mola salsa, the sacred salted flour sprinkled on the forehead of every sacrificial animal in Rome. Without it, no public sacrifice is valid. The flour on your fingers connects you to every priest, every altar, every throat cut in Vesta's name. You are essential, and you're invisible. At 16, you've learned the privileges of your position. You can own property, unheard of for Roman women. You can testify in court. Lictors escort you through the streets. Senators bow. If a condemned prisoner crosses your path, he can be spared. You hold life and death in your presence alone. But the privilege comes with a chain. Chastity. For 30 years, no man can touch you. Your body belongs to Vesta, to Rome, to everyone except yourself. The punishment for breaking that vow? They bury you alive. A small underground chamber near the Colline Gate, furnished with a lamp, a loaf of bread, a jug of water. Just enough to technically call it a room instead of a grave. They seal the entrance, and you wait in the darkness until you stop waiting. They call the place Campus Sceleratus, the evil field. You pass it sometimes on feast days, and the ground seems to hum with screams no one else can hear. 10 years down, 20 to go. Your active decade passes in rituals and politics. Emperors rise and fall. Nero, then chaos, then the Flavians. Through it all, the fire burns. That's all that matters. At 26, a new novice arrives. Her name is Cornelia. She's 7 years old, terrified, clutching a wooden doll that the priests make her leave at the temple gate. She cries that first night, just like you did. You sit beside her bed and stroke her hair until she falls asleep. The fire doesn't care how scared you are, you tell her, echoing Aurelia's words, but you say it softer, kinder, because you remember what it felt like to hear it harsh. Cornelia becomes your shadow. She's brilliant, quick with the rituals, graceful in the ceremonies. By 14, she tends the flame better than Vestal's twice her age. You teach her everything: how to tend the flame, how to read Rome's politics, how to carry loneliness without letting it crush you. She calls you Mater sometimes. The word fills a hollow in your chest you didn't know existed. You're 27 when Domitian becomes the 11th Roman emperor in 81 CE, and everything changes. Domitian fancies himself a moral reformer. He sees corruption everywhere, and he's determined to purify Rome by force. The Vestals become his obsession. If Rome is failing, it must be because its sacred virgins have failed. Examples must be made. In 83 CE, a Vestal named Varinilla is accused of breaking her vow. The evidence is flimsy. She smiled too often at a senator, wore perfume unsuitable for a holy woman. It doesn't matter. Domitian needs a sacrifice. Rumors say she was buried alive. You don't know if it's true. You don't want to know. But Domitian isn't satisfied. In 90 CE, 2 more sisters are accused. Then in 91, the emperor sets his sights on your Cornelia. She's only 17, still in her first decade of service. Still a child, really. Your daughter in all but blood. The charges are absurd. A freed slave claims he saw her with a man. No evidence, no witnesses, no proper trial. Domitian condemns her in absentia at his private estate. He doesn't even let her speak in her own defense. You beg, you prostrate yourself before the emperor, offer to take her place. He looks at you with flat reptilian eyes and says nothing. His decision is final. The day of Cornelius' execution is bright and cloudless. Obscenely beautiful weather for a murder. All of Rome lines the streets, silent, horrified, unable to look away. They strip Cornelia of her vitae, the sacred ribbons of her office. They scourge her. They dress her in funeral clothes and place her in a close litter. The procession winds through the forum, past the temple of Vesta where she served for 10 years, past the flame that still burns, indifferent to injustice. You walk beside the litter. You're not supposed to. It's not protocol, but no one stops you. Perhaps they understand that some bonds transcend ritual. At the Campus Sceleratus, Cornelia descends from the litter. She's 17. You're 37. You've lived twice her life, and now you'll have to live the rest of yours without her. She raises her hands to the heavens. Her voice carries across the crowd, clear and unwavering. The emperor declares me guilty of incest, knowing that my prayers alone gave him his victory, his triumph, his immortal glory. Guards move to silence her, but she's already turning to the ladder. She descends with the dignity of a queen. At the bottom, she looks up at you one last time. The girl who clutched a wooden doll. The woman who called you Mater. The fire, she says softly. Don't let it go out. They seal the chamber, stone on stone. The crowd disperses. Domitian nods once, satisfied, and returns to his palace. You stand at the sealed entrance until nightfall. You don't speak or pray or cry. You just stand there, listening for sounds that never come, watching a patch of dirt that looks like every other patch of dirt, except that your daughter is beneath it, dying in the dark. You're 30 years as a Vestal Virgin and 3 months after Cornelia's death. The Pontifex Maximus offers you a pension, a villa, arrangements for marriage. You refuse everything except the pension. What will you do with a husband? What will you do with a life? You stay in Rome, close enough to see the Temple of Vesta from your window. You never enter it again. You can't. Domitian is assassinated in 96 CE, stabbed by his own court officials, mourned by no one. You feel nothing. Revenge would require that Cornelia could be brought back. She can't. The evil field keeps what it takes. At 52, your body surrenders. A fever takes hold and won't let go. In your final hours, you dream of fire. It's not the sacred flame, it's something warmer. A hearth in a home you never had. A daughter who lived to grow old. When you open your eyes, Cornelia is standing at the foot of your bed. She's young again, 7 years old, clutching that wooden doll, smiling like she did before they cut her hair. The fire, she says. It's time to let it go. You close your eyes, you let it go. The sacred fire burns for another 3 centuries, until Emperor Theodosius orders it extinguished in 394 CE. 1,000 years of unbroken fire. It was strangled slowly, and then silenced. The Vestal gave everything to Rome. Her name, her childhood, her daughter. But in Sparta, women were trained to give something else entirely. Their sons. If you want to know what it felt like to hand your child a shield and mean it, that video is next.